Good morning, everybody. You're tuned to Computers 2K now on the Nissan Communications Network. I'm Amnon, your host for the next couple of hours, along with Gal.
Good morning.
Good morning. Who is still up north in that northern state, northern country.
What you saying there? Hey?
Hey. And Katie's here.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. And Nick is here.
I'm back from exile.
What exile?
Well, I've been gone for what, 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah,
We're back.
you were not an exile. You were just playing hooky. Our number is 919-518-9773. Computers 2K Voice on Skype. And today's show is made possible by VMix Software and is sponsored by Thompson Clarifly Streaming Gear. So, Nick, you must have some stories in those 2 weeks that you... Huh? What?
Technology-wise? No.
Oh, okay.
I did my radio show from Greensboro. That went flawlessly.
Nice.
I hooked into a random Ethernet port in the lobby and it worked. So from a security standpoint, I mean,
wow,
they didn't really have things locked down all too securely, but it worked. So I'm not complaining.
Yeah, I saw part of your coverage. I mean, not the show, but just Twitter, and it was pretty good.
Thanks. Yeah, it was a good event.
Yeah. So what else is happening? Who's got something?
At work, we talked about more about AI and how to incorporate into the business,
And are
really, yeah. Well, as a tool, so we got the IT to give us access to Photoshop beta. So Photoshop has a new AI feature, and it's pretty amazing. And I started using it, but in order to use it with a company license, it's like the IT people have to give it access or whatever. And so we got that up and running, and now they have Photoshop beta installed so they can have access to Photoshop AI. And it's great too because the graphic designers they did take employee headshots and stuff, and it's always one of those things where there's like a new graphic with the employee promotion, and then they need more of their shoulder or they need more of their chest area because like they get cut off or whatever, or cropped, and Photoshop AI just fills in the pieces.
Huh?
Okay.
So can they just tell Photoshop to draw what you need to draw, and it'll do it by itself?
Yeah, exactly. So what you do is
so I mean, I never used Photoshop because I couldn't figure it out. So I guess I guess now I can use it.
Yeah. All you have to do is highlight the area you want to change, and then little prompt box will come up, and you say, continue the image, get rid of this stain, or change the background, and say generate, and then it'll pop out 3 examples of AI images for what you requested.
Nice.
And you just select one.
Yeah. Nice. Here's a story about ChatGPT. A U.S. judge has fined 2 lawyers and a law firm $5,000 after fake citations generated by ChatGPT were submitted in a court filing. A district judge in Manhattan ordered Stephen Schwartz Peter LaDuca and their law firm to pay the fine after fictitious legal research was used in an aviation injury claim. Schwartz
Wow.
has admitted that ChatGPT, a chatbot that churns out plausible text responses to human prompts, invented 6 cases he referred to in a legal brief in a case against the Colombian airline Avianca.
Why
So,
didn't he fact check it?
well, that's why he got fined.
Wow.
Yeah, that
That's
doesn't sound like an AI piece of news. That sounds like a crappy lawyer piece of news.
Yeah. He wants to blame the AI.
Yeah,
Yeah, but there was
that is
go ahead.
that is one is POS ambulance chaser.
Yeah,
If he didn't
I know.
even fact check whatever, damn.
Yeah,
Oh man.
where is the story? Maybe I didn't save it. There was a story about the fact that the people who are training the AI are actually farming it out to an AI to get information to teach the AI. I mean, we are getting into a closed loop here, kind of.
Yeah.
Well, that's the major concern, right?
Well, of course,
Yeah.
but it's just amazing. Oh, here it is. A significant proportion of people paid to train AI models may be themselves outsourcing that work to AI. That's found by a new study. It takes an incredible amount of data to train AI systems to perform specific tasks accurately and reliably. Many companies pay gig workers on platforms like Mechanical Turk to complete tasks that are typically hard to automate, such as solving CAPTCHAs, labeling data, and annotating text. This data is then fed into AI models to train them. The workers are poorly paid and are often expected to complete lots of tasks very quickly. So they go on the net and they tell some kind of uh, other AI, "Hey, give me information here."
We talked a little bit about this on infection.
Yeah,
And as Gall mentioned, that's the scary part of all of this is
that's one of the scary parts.
no,
Yeah,
I think it's the real risk is Skynet style things. You'll have really intelligent, smart AI that is training really rudimentary, new, dumb AI, and you eventually get to a situation where there is a very blurred line between what is real and what is not. And that I don't think is going to be all that far down the road. It's a very interesting situation. How you plan for it or how you uh, plan against it, or I don't even know what you do. I guess you just have to hope that, and this is always the problem. Hope whoever is in charge of some of this stuff has got a little bit more foresight, but I'm not necessarily sure that's the case.
I would
Oh,
think.
that's easy. The AI is in charge, no?
It's been the AI the whole time.
Yeah. The algorithm.
Yeah, the
And now
algos, man.
what's gonna happen is that you're gonna have regular AI, and then you're gonna have AI managers that teach and AI interns, and we're just gonna recreate society.
Well, no, seriously, you'll have very smart, very high level, intelligent AI that does train more basic AI. Absolutely.
Yeah, because it'll be more expensive to run the more complex ones, right? And so
Sure.
you'll have it's basically like different type of services that you use to do different types of action, right? So, yep.
I can uh, I can just see talking with an AI and then say, "Can I have a supervisor? Can I have one of the trainers, please? I mean, I want to level up." You know,
Oh, that's easy. That will happen, but you know what the response is?
uh,
Sure, just send us
oh,
this amount of bitcoins, and you can start using the more sophisticated AI, right? Finally, a company hiring AI workers, right, will have an excuse of like why you need the supervisor.
yeah, but well, tell me why do you need? Yeah, I mean, it's just it's ridiculous. Again, there are layers and layers, which there should be. It would be so nice if you didn't have to worry, and it's really an AI that's learning on its own from reliable. I mean, this is all impossibilities,
Yeah.
but that would be nice if
But
that.
see, that's a problem in itself, and that's what you're dealing with
Yeah,
right now is these quote unquote reliable sources.
yeah.
Not everything. I just learned this past week. Turns out not everything on the internet is reliable and accurate. So
Whoa.
yeah,
Come
and
on,
I
you
I'm
did
still
not say
struggling with this.
Controversial.
the opinions
Except our
of
show.
the opinions of Nick Craig are not the opinions of.
No,
That's
no.
fine.
First of all,
Yeah, no, my opinions
Nick
are my
is
opinions.
correct. Nick is correct, but only this show has
Now,
reliable information.
this
Yeah,
show and Wilmington's Morning News are all the only two
exactly.
reliable sources I've found. But well, Ammon, you covered it earlier. The law firm, the AI
Yeah,
obviously
yeah,
found some information somewhere
right,
that led it to believing that that was an accurate response.
right,
It didn't just make it up.
and I'm surprised that scammers are not taking. You know how it's working now. It's like the AI goes out to the net. It goes on Google and it's saying, I need to know about this. And it goes on this panel and then on this platform. And it just gets information from the net. I hope that's the way it's doing it. And it's not that one person is feeding it the information, somebody who
Well,
supposedly knows.
No.
So scammers can write a whole bunch of pages and put them all over the place. And you know that the AI is going to encounter them because they can put keywords that not many people would use. So I don't know, maybe there is a way to fight it and that's why they're not doing it. But yeah, it's scary. You're right.
You know,
Uh,
the crazy thing is we've heard a couple of news articles now where lawyers are getting in trouble or law firms because they're getting caught out using AI, and they're getting caught out because when it gets so far into the process, somebody has to check to make sure these things are accurate. Imagine all the other things that people are using that are saying that this is true. That is BS AI information. But with the lawyer stuff, they're like the judges or whoever are double checking that these court cases are for real, that they're pulling as examples, and then they're finding out they're false.
yeah, I mean, you have to. I mean, look, lawyers now they're going to charge me $500 an hour to go and ask a chatbot. Give me a break.
Yes. I mean that.
right.
Yeah.
No, that's beautiful, actually. First, I want to see the lawsuit of the guy defended by that lawyer,
Yeah.
the
Oh,
suing the lawyer, right? First of all, right? Because he didn't represent him properly. That's number one. But more to that is we need to remember that the responses from ChatGPT is like going into a Hollywood writer's room and getting a very good script.
mm-hmm.
They they do not have an understanding of the inner workings of what they're talking about. They just know how to make it look real. And this is exactly what ChatGPT does, right? And so that's why the enthusiasm around it, right, needs to be toned down And first of all, understand that this is not an answer generator. This is a script generator that looks like answers. And that is exactly what it does, right? If you talk with the people designing this and working this is their understanding of it as well, right? Remember, we do not know how it comes up with the answers, but we do know what the quality of those answers are, and that is they are a fabrication of the imagination of that machine, if you want to simplify it, right? It's sort of, yes, we are giving this machine imagination, and it is just generating stuff that is pleasing to us, that we have approved in the past. We as in human, right? As in the collective knowledge that has been got
hopefully.
Well,
yeah,
that's the thing. It's based on the source that it's taking from, right? So as long as the sources are curated in a certain way, then at least it matches some of the expectation of those who operate it. But the moment you open the floodgates, right, then you have zero control. And that's the problem with AI. That's the problem that why you cannot rely on AI alone. And even today with companies who are doing excellent work with AI, they are usually using AI as part of the process and then passing it right to other mechanisms which are much more precise, much more accurate. They are more intensive in calculation need and all that, right? But they mean something at the end. So AI is great. It is limited.
Yeah, and again, you go and you stop somebody in the street to ask him a question. You can't take it for granted that it's absolutely correct.
Right.
You may
right, and that's exactly it. You're right.
You have to be up on it and be able to fact check it. Of course, if you ask for directions, you're doing it. Maybe that's why men don't ask for directions, because they say, well, it's not, they're going to tell me to go somewhere where I don't want to go. But I mean, the ideal way is to stop, ask for direction, go another block, stop, ask for directions again, and see if it's the same. That doesn't work like this. But with ChatGPT or with the chatbot, you ask, you get the information, then you sit and you start working the old way to fact check it.
Right.
And you need to do an honest job on that, especially if you're a lawyer and somebody else's fate is in your hands.
I mean, that lawyer, right, went to school for how much?
I don't
6, 7 years, right? That should amount to something.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but AI at this point, right? It's not just AI. It's like machine-based learning isn't up to par to that. I'm not saying it won't be able to replace that, but currently it is far behind on understanding the importance of an argument, how these arguments are formed, and how they are how they relate to reality, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
those aspects are not even there. It might look like an argument, but it's not. That's the thing. It might look like excellent script code or software code, but it's not, because the moment you plug that code directly into a compiler, it's going to fail. And most of the code coming out from ChatGPT actually fails. It's a good start. It's not that bad. You need to test it.
Fail what?
It doesn't even compile most of it. Yeah.
I mean,
there are syntax errors. There are it references a very old language version. Sometimes it's not. It's far from perfect. It's an
of course
excellent
it
start.
is. Yeah.
But it's far from perfect.
And it's the same situation with people. Some people. I got a link to a video from somebody that God we know her, and it had two dancers in a ballroom, and it says, "I'm gonna read this. These are not people. These are Chinese robots." And it's unbelievable and stuff. So I started watching and said, these are no robots. These are people. But then I went and read the article, and the article was written so eloquently. So I went and I just to Google and I just put in dancing Chinese robots. And that was the first thing that came out. I said, not, and you see all the articles that come up and they're explaining why it's not robot. The robots cannot be so smooth, yeah, and all that. But I wrote back and I said, you shouldn't forward this to a lot of people like that without checking it first. What do you mean? I said, it's a lie. It's a false. Somebody just posted it and people went with it.
And there's a good chance that it was even posted as satirical content or something.
It may be.
Right? And just completely missing. I mean, do you remember the Onion News?
Yeah.
Right? Where articles that they produced would end up in legitimate media.
Right.
Because nobody fact checked the source. So yeah.
That's the Onion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Microsoft is removing its built-in Microsoft Teams client in Windows 11. The chat functionality will be replaced with a more flexible, free version of Microsoft Teams that's also available as an app for Windows 10.
What?
Yep. They changes.
Wait, so they're like, we're getting rid of Teams and we're replacing it with, wait for it, Teams.
With Teams with a free
Teams Lite.
Yeah, Teams Lite, which is more flexible.
Sure.
Oh man.
Yep. I mean, I still haven't encountered anybody that uses Teams. I don't doing it here. So I don't know. I don't even know what it does that people are so.
I've used Teams at work.
And
we use Teams.
It's fine.
Yeah. In the previous company I used.
I was annoyed with it at first, but now that I'm on Slack, I wish we had Teams. I know, Gall. I know you're good. You like Slack.
I think you're right.
Oh, okay.
Do
Because the thing we're running into is we deal with a lot of asset management, like files and stuff, and so with Teams, it's just so much easier for one thing to save a conversation. So like I could talk to somebody and then it will still have the conversation on the side like a month from now, so that I can go back and look at when they sent me something. But with Slack, and maybe this is a setting, if I don't talk to somebody for like 2-3 weeks, their chat will go out of my recently talked to or whatever list. So then I have to relook for the person.
It sounds to me like you're using the free version of Slack, which is limited.
I don't know.
In its history.
It's the company version, so I don't know if they're using the free or what, but it's what my company's using.
How many employees?
Close to 500.
Yeah, no, they can't use the free one. I think the free one is limited to about 50. Yeah, weird. Because I do know Slack. I have two. I joined the company a year ago, and it has a history that goes back to the beginning of the company. So.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. It might be user error. I'm sure it is, but like, so I send image files, and we get image files, and sometimes they'll be like, oh, remember when that person sent you that image like a month ago? Can you go and look at it? And then I have to like dig around. And with Teams, it's just so much easier. And with Teams, you can create and this is so stupid. They call Teams. Like you can make groups in Teams or whatever. And then you can get a file structure going. So when we're working on a project in Teams, we can make its own folder, and then everything is stored on Teams. It's not a perfect system, but after having using Slack for like 3 months now, I kind of miss that as a feature.
Yeah, well, they're different. They're very similar in some aspects, and they're different in others. But they are very enterprise oriented. They're very business oriented teams compared to, let's say, Discord, which would probably be a superior communication method, but not necessarily a convenient knowledge silo, right? That keeps the corporate knowledge in a good place. So I would agree. Yeah.
All right.
But it's tied very tightly to Microsoft ecosystem. So if what you want is to work with Google Workspace, for example, then Teams is probably not the best solution you have out there.
It's funny you mention Slack. So this is kind of off track a little bit, but it's interesting. So the National Weather Service has this system called NWS Chat. And it's an opportunity for emergency managers and media and whatnot to have a direct line of communication with the people in their local weather service office. So, during hurricanes and tornadoes and stuff like that, you can get faster information than social media. It's an old system. It's been deployed since the mid 2000s, and it still runs XM. It's XMPP based. So it's just an old school, you use Pigeon as the client, instant message client you use to communicate. And it's got problems whenever there's a large severe weather event, the system crashes. They're moving everybody to Slack. And this is thousands of people, tens of thousands of people that they're moving to Slack as an alternative for a instant messaging system. I'm in the new beta system now, and it's pretty interesting to see them move from essentially something proprietary. And I know XMPP is not proprietary, but for all intents and purposes, something proprietary to Slack. It's very interesting.
Well, it's not that they're moving from proprietary to proprietary, but XMPP at least is an open protocol. Like moving to Slack, taking that out, I wonder why they didn't go with Matrix. Matrix is such a fantastic system.
I think it's because they're past the point of self-hosting it. And I think this is the frustration was every time there was an issue, right now it's your problem. And if I'm being honest, the National Weather Service is a part of the federal government. Anytime that they can kind of push that responsibility off to someone else, they do. And now it's going to be Slack's problem. And the reality is Slack is used to dealing with surges of users. So that's, in my opinion, less likely to even be an issue.
Yeah.
But I thought that was interesting.
I seem to remember, Nick, that in the early days of the pandemic, you had to use Slack when you were working with the technology.
Yeah, we use Slack at the IT. We use Slack at the IT company I was at.
Yeah, and
Slack's great.
I guess Mike was complaining about it. Mike couldn't stand it. I don't know. I remember something negative about it. Anyway,
well, I mean,
Nick,
all these things are different, and I mean, the reality is, if you don't want to learn to use them, you don't have to. But then, it's the same thing with Discord. There's a lot of people that don't like Discord. Oh, I don't. It doesn't make sense. I don't know how to use it. It's like, oh, okay, well, that's where everything's moving. Yeah. So,
okay, so enlighten us about this. Twitch has reversed its recently announced rules regarding ad display on the platform after facing swift backlash from streamers and content creators. So what is this all about? What didn't they want you guys to do?
All right, let me see if I can do a demo for you. So,
I mean, it's very interesting.
yeah, give me a second here to get a little something pulled up. They essentially went through and decided. So, okay, so Twitch, the way that Twitch makes money is through selling advertisements, and those are in various places. Those are pre-roll video ads. Those are banner and placement ads on the website, on the sidebar. That's their source of revenue. That's why the website is free. Um, and what I believe was happening, and I don't have any information to back this up, but what I believe was happening based on these rules that they came out with was that there was a third party company. God, you'll find this interesting. There was a third party company that was taking there was a third party company that was going to large streamers and essentially buying ad space on their live stream, not through Twitch, but through essentially they would be originating the ads in OBS or whatever streaming application they were using and cutting Twitch completely out of it. So you had these streamers that were essentially selling their video stream, portions of their video stream to an ad marketplace, which is exactly what Twitch's business is. So they were getting completely cut out and were making no money on it at all, and were pissed. And I understand why.
Oh yeah.
Okay. I don't fault them for it at all.
So you're not talking about reading ad copy on your show. You're talking about switching over, like what network does in local markets.
Absolutely, yes.
To an ad. Okay.
Yes, that and also display ads. Say it again.
So how did they try to stop that?
So they put in these new rules, and this is what I'm. So let's say this is a display ad that you would have, and this is your company, Colin. You've paid to put this right here. They've made it a rule that a video or an on-screen ad could be no more than 3% of the total video window. It was some infinitesimally small thing. So it could be like this tiny little block that you could have like up here. And that would be the extent of it to try and cut down on the size. But there was the policing and the uniformity of it. It's just stupid.
The keyword you said was on-screen ad. I wonder if they get around it by like malicious compliance by having a giant TV behind them and that runs the ad.
That's anything that was displayed, and they showed it. We talked about it on Infection a couple weeks ago. I want to see if I can pull up the examples because it was just it sounds ridiculous on the outside, but when you think about Twitch's business model, they're getting screwed by their own streamers. Essentially, and believe me, I'm not a Twitch fan, so I'm not trying to cover for Twitch. I think they're a garbage company, and they've done a terrible job with their service in recent months or recent years. But was definitely an interesting situation to watch.
Is this same thing happening on YouTube? Like, because YouTube has streaming, so are those streamers doing the same thing?
I would assume so, but YouTube probably just doesn't care, if I'm being honest about it.
Yeah. Because I'm thinking, like, what has pushed the streamers to do this instead of going through Twitch? And I know the obvious answer is like, oh, well, they get more money.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
But a lot of it too maybe is convenience. Like, I'd be really curious to hear like the streamer side of it. If it's more complicated than just, oh, well, I want more money, so I'm gonna accept it directly.
So this was
I also I remember that in the early days you couldn't run ads. You're against terms if you're running ads. They want to run ads, pre-roll, mid-roll, and all that. And I wrote a few times, and look, guys, I have no problem with ads, but I want to control. You tell me you want it on the 20th minute. Okay, fine. I'll do one on the 20 and I'll do one on the 40, just like on radio. But I control it and I start playing it when we're done talking. I don't want you to just come and cut me and run your ad and then it comes back and it's we're lost somewhere. And nobody ever even reacted to it. Go
yeah,
on.
I mean, they're not going to do something like that. It's not a service it's not a radio station or something. So here is the guidelines that they put out. So you have formats permitted with limitation. So logos on stream. So if Katie is sponsoring my live stream, I can put a logo, but it's limited to 3% of the screen, which again, I don't even know how you get to 3%. I'm not sure how you calculate 3%. That seems ridiculous.
Yeah.
And what Katie mentioned, or what Gal mentioned, these burned in ads, like that you're playing as if they're just videos locally, those were not permitted at all. Burned in display ads, so to have a lower third or something on the screen the entire time that you're doing something was not allowed. And you couldn't have burned in audio ads either.
I wonder.
So those are some of the restrictions.
I wonder if when they talked about logos, if you add multiple logos, how would that count? Right?
It's still, I think it was still 3%.
All combined? That's my question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what Katie also mentioned, let me pull a screenshot of this one too. Like, oh, let me just put something behind me. Well, they did that too. And so you can see kind of in this middle panel, you've got this guy with his, energy drink or whatever behind him. That's okay. You can have panels on the channel page, which is essentially like the description of the live stream. You can discuss, endorse, or unbox a product, or you can play a sponsored game. It's just again, the goal of this for them was to cut down on these ad marketplaces. They were going to big streamers and saying, hey, we'll give you $10,000 a month for a banner ad. And this wasn't a specific company. This was a marketplace. And we'll give you 10 grand for a banner ad. And then we'll, send you a video file or a picture, slideshow or whatever. And it's just going to rotate through while you live stream. Pretty interesting. But now you said they walked it back, Amnon?
Yes, they reversed. That's what it says. It's they reversed. It's recently announced after facing swift backlash from streamers.
Yeah, well, I'm sure. And there was even some questions like this. For example, the Overwatch League streams on Twitch. Well, when they're streaming, they're sitting at a desk and it's sponsored because it's like a sporting event.
Yeah.
So the question was, this is no longer going to be allowed on the platform because this is technically against their guidelines. I mean, that State Farm logo is way bigger than 3%. No argument there at all.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting how to solve a problem you might shoot yourself in the foot, which is it appears that's what Twitch attempted to do. But I sympathize with them. I understand. I mean, it'd be the equivalent of somebody coming to me and trying to pay me to do ads on my radio show outside of my company. That would not, well, first of all, it would get me fired, but it wouldn't be allowed. I mean, nobody could come to me and offer me cash to do them. That's not a thing. I don't own the airtime to do that. I don't own the radio station to do that.
All right. Well, so the people won here. It seems like
the streamers won.
The streamers, yeah. The
people still get inundated with advertising.
Oh.
And even that, like, it's a really small win for a small time. They're just going to regroup and figure out how to block it. That's all.
Sure.
Of course. I mean, they want to make money, and that's what they're supposed to do. All right. Millions of people in Louisiana and Oregon have had their data compromised in the sprawling cyber attack that has also hit the U.S. federal government, state agencies said late Thursday. The breach has affected 3.5 million Oregonians and driver's license or state ID cards, and anyone with that documentation in Louisiana. The Louisiana Governor Office did not put a number on the number of victims, but over 3 million Louisianians hold driver's license, according to public data. The states did not blame anyone in particular for the hack, but federal officials have attributed a broader hacking campaign using the same software vulnerability to a Russian ransomware gang. The sweeping hack has likely exposed data at hundreds of organizations across the globe and also compromised multiple U.S. federal agencies, including the Department of Energy, as well as data from major corporations in Britain, like the BBC and British Airways. So the Russian-speaking hackers that claimed credit are known to demand multi-million-dollar ransoms, though U.S. and state governments say they have not received any demand.
Yeah, they're not doing the demands on this one for some reason.
Yeah, and I told you before that one of my customers, Delta Force, got hit with a ransom attack that encrypted everything. But they had good backup, and it took them about 2-3 weeks. I think they're still working on it. But I haven't heard anything that somebody asked them for money to restore it. So it's interesting. Sometimes I guess maybe they have to.
It's supposed to be automatic, and it's supposed to be there usually as a file next to the encrypted file. Strange that they did not see that.
Maybe they didn't even. I think I was told that they shut down all their machines and their network, and they waited for a team to come in and look into it. So yeah, interesting. There was something else about some.
Well, it's not only interesting; it begs the question why a group would go through the hassle and headache for this, to not get anything out of it. I mean, the reason that groups do this, there's two reasons. Either A, you want the data, or B, you want ransom. And almost every time it's ransom, very rarely is it the actual data that they're after, because it's such a wide net that they cast. I mean, what are they going to do with it? So I found it very interesting that they're not actually shooting for ransom.
The only reason that I can see that they're not shooting for ransom is, remember, the first when it happens, it's all automatic. Somebody clicks on a link, there's an attachment, they open it, they do something that invokes that script that starts that. Now, nobody on the other side knows about it yet until they get some kind of a notice. Hey, we got, because it's machines that do that. So maybe they are so busy that they couldn't keep up with all the people that fell for it.
Well, Amnon, you're missing one part. The ransom request is also automated. It is local. Well, it does not phone home in any way at all.
Really?
So it's all done.
So the way this happens, we've seen in the previous company I worked with, we've dealt with ransom attacks for our customers. So the way this works is, I'm sorry about all the noise.
Oh, it's fine. Come on, keep going.
As you described, it's correct. Somebody clicks a link, something starts a process, and that process starts encrypting the files. Alongside those files, right, happens another thing. Some of these files are just renamed, and instead of them, the original file name, let's say you have an exe file, right? That exe file turns into a link that just, when you run it, the ransom note appears. It's all local. There's no phoning home. There's no nobody remotely knows that a system has been hit. They do not care at all. The only thing they care, right, is if you send in a specific, there's a set of instructions, right? You send X amount of bitcoins to this and this address, right? And then you send an email with the transaction code, right, or something like that. Then you get a response with the encryption key that should unencrypt your files. That's the process of ransomware. That's why it has been such a successful business, right, quote unquote.
Yeah.
So no, there isn't, a person isn't involved after a ransomware has been released, right? Like, once that, you will be amazed to know that on the receiving end of it, the one that there's another bot that checks that email and sends the ransom,
The follow-up,
the encryption key and all that, sends it back, right?
supposedly.
And it's
Yeah.
not supposedly. Everything is set up, right?
Yeah.
That's most of the time it breaks up. This is self-hosted stuff, right? But there are companies like an Amazon data center, right? That you can buy cloud computing. There are these criminal organization who are hosting this, right, for other hackers to just disseminate. And so that link that you clicked on, somebody generated from a system like this. So you even have tiers upon tiers upon tiers of inside that criminal organization. It has become so streamlined, right, to seem so normal. You you get accepted into a system, right, after you reach the right contacts and you get an invitation and all that. You get accepted to a system, you log in with credentials,
Mhm.
and you generate a link, and then it's on you to figure out where to put that link. But it also provides like code, like JavaScript code to put in a website or something that will be with and you can buy those snippets, right? Because the ones that have, I don't know, 20% success compared to the ones that have only 3% success, right? They cost different amounts, and you get a code snippet and you disseminate it somehow via spam bots or websites or whatever, and you harvest, right, the ransomware. Everything is happening automated. Most of the people operating it are clueless. Most of them are stupid because they think they can get away with it eventually, right? So it's a bizarre ecosystem, really
No.
bizarre ecosystem.
Well, yeah, it's just interesting that more and more people can actually recover from that. I mean, they recovered so far. They recovered almost everything. They were just doing it slowly, but it's costing a lot of money, I'm sure.
Right, right. That's the thing. This has created a marketplace for
Right.
the companies who are expert
Yep.
in getting you out of it. It has created a marketplace for protecting against it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Hopefully.
Yeah. I think the ones who are getting the least out of it are actually the criminals, right? Because unlike any other party of this ecosystem, right, the insurance companies and the experts and all that, those they're getting paid and it's legal. The others, right, even if they do get paid, eventually they get caught and or they get killed on their end, right? It's like they're not in a safe environment.
Oh.
All of the others are working in a safe environment. So it's ridiculous. It is ridiculous.
And here is something else.
But it's not going away.
No, it's not going away.
Yeah.
The United UPS, United Parcel Service, says fraudsters have been harvesting phone numbers and other information from its online shipment tracking tool in Canada to send highly targeted SMS phishing, what they call smishing, messages that spoofed UPS and other top brands. The missives addressed recipients by name, included details about recent orders, and warned that those orders couldn't be shipped unless the customer paid an added delivery fee. In a snail mail letter sent this month to Canadian customers, UPS Canada Ltd says it is aware that some package recipients have received fraudulent text messages demanding payment before a package can be delivered, and that it has been working with partners in its delivery chain to try to understand how the fraud was occurring. So why they do it in Canada and not here, I don't know.
I get text, or I used to get text messages that said that my Amazon package was
Right.
delivered correctly. Click
Yeah.
this link,
Yeah.
and UPS, and here's your tracking and all that stuff. This actually reminded me that I got a phone call this week from a scammer, and I usually don't answer. Like if I don't recognize the phone number, I don't answer. But something compelled me to answer it this time, and the guy goes, "Hi, am I speaking with Caitlin Jones?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then he was like, "Is your address blah 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 blah?" And then I paused and I said, "Why? Who's this for?" And he was like, "Oh, well, we're your power company, blah 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 blah." And I was like, "What is your company called?" And then he didn't say what my power company was. He said the wrong, I don't know what he said, some kind of generic thing. And I said, "This sounds scammy. I don't want to talk to you. Bye." And I just hung up. It was not the power company. So somehow they got my name and my address and my phone number and gave me a phone call. And I just left a lot of long pauses, and he was like, "Oh," and I was like, "This is scammy. Bye."
Yeah, you didn't let them string you farther, which is good.
No.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't know why.
They knew your address, right? And they didn't do the check to see who the power company for that address is.
Yeah. Well, okay, here's another thing. So my university got quote unquote hacked like 6 months ago, and they sent out a bunch of emails that that if students can update your address so that we can send you the information about how all the student information from this time to this time was compromised. And then I got something in the mail a couple days ago that said that there's a class action lawsuit against the school for linked information that I could file for it or whatever to get compensated for lost wages or whatever. And I was like, dang, that's probably where he got it. He probably got my phone number and my address from the school registry.
I mean, address is no big deal to find on the internet of anybody. Phone numbers many times are right there. I mean, it's not so easy these days for somebody who knows how to do it and has a good reason to do it. They can do it.
Yeah, and what was crazy too is that the number said it was from Seattle. So the scammer's number was from Seattle, but he did not sound like he was from Seattle or North Carolina.
Oh.
So I'm like,
Oh, uh-huh.
Oh, no, my dude.
I just can't I could never understand how people can fall for this is Microsoft, and we
Oh, I
detected a virus on your system. Really?
I watched a video recently of of those people falling for something like that, and this was a bank scam where they it was a guy and he got on the he got a phone call from supposedly the IRS and that he owed money on his taxes and they, and he's I don't know what they said, but they said panic inducing things. And so he forwarded them $3,000. And what was
Jeez.
crazy is that he was on I know it sounds batshit crazy. But he was on the phone and then he got into an Uber that he ordered to go to his next place. So the Uber guy is listening and the dude is, like, freaking out and getting really emotional, and he was like, oh my gosh, like, I can't they're gonna close down my accounts, blah, 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 blah." And then the Uber guy goes, "Who sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but who are you talking to?" And the guy's like, "Oh, I'm talking to the IRS." And the Uber guy goes, "Well, did you get something in the mail?" And the guy goes, No." And he goes, "The IRS sends things in the mail. What are you talking about?" And then he's explained what happened, and the guy's like, "Dude, you just got scammed." And then he started freaking out all over again because he sent him $3,000.
Yep.
And then the guy in the Uber was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so stupid. I'm so stupid." And he was like all emotional. That's how they get them is they get so worked up and they don't think straight.
I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah. I know of a person, friend of ours. She got scammed out of $5,000. And as she tells it, she feels so ashamed, right? Uh, uh, and and to and to reiterate how bad this is, the way they got those $5,000 are with Apple gift cards.
Mhm.
They sent her, holding her on the phone, and this is all emotional manipulation,
Yep.
right? And once you're in that state, you are not functioning. Your brain isn't functioning. You are at, at a hysteria level, basically, of function. And they know how to manipulate you. Once they get you there, right? The problem is getting you there. Most of the people, they just hung up. But if they catch somebody, there's just enough doubt for the conversation to continue, and they catch you there, they are they will hold you on the phone. You will drive to Walmart to buy gift cards in order to send it, and you will not see uh, uh, the absurdity until this ends. And then when you hang up, right, that is when reality crashes in, right? Like, what did I do? And so, yeah, this is beyond terrible. And whoever goes through that, I just feel for them. And it has nothing. The only way to help people at this point is educate them to never start the interaction. Or if you start the interaction, know what you're going into. And know that there is a manipulation on the other side, and nobody legitimately will ever do that manipulation. But other than that, there's not much we can do because this will continue to happen. People will still be susceptible, and the only way to limit this is education. Just
Absolutely.
education.
Absolutely. And just like Katie said, IRS does not send stuff in email.
Right, and it
Yeah.
doesn't matter who it is. It's not IRS, it's Apple, it's right
Yeah.
because
Well,
nobody will call you and demand of
right.
you an amount ASAP on the spot, right? Uh, and it doesn't matter how, right? And that is what you need to. The moment somebody claims you owe something on the phone, that is when you disconnect, you take a breath, you go collect all of the information you have, and you call,
No,
right?
and not
You call,
not the same
not the
number
same.
that called you.
Yeah,
You find the right
exactly.
number for that. Yeah.
Right. You open the good old yellow pages, right? You phone, you go to your bills and you phone those numbers.
Yeah.
So yeah, if they raise the doubt, make sure that when you are acting without doubt. Okay, so
Right. Just be aware. It's very few rules here, like Gal said. First of all, if you have any kind of um, doubt that this is legit, it's probably not legit. And like again, like others said, they never call you for money. You can call, like, other company, power company, and discuss your bill. They will not call you to discuss your bill. They will mail you if there's a problem. They would tag it to next month. I mean, whatever it is, it's up to you to initiate. But and if somebody is calling you and you are hesitating and you are saying, I need to look at that, and you see that they are demanding, like God said, the information right there, and it's just like they latch onto you. They don't let you go. No legitimate company is going to do this. If a company calls you and wants something and you said, look, I don't have time. Okay, well, we'll call later. You're not going to hear it from these people. These people say, no, but they're going to try and keep you on the phone. That's
Yeah, as soon as you try to hang up and they try to keep you there, that's not a real company, because real
Yep.
companies' employees don't care that much.
Well,
They'll be
that's
like
true too. Yeah.
they'll be like, "Okay, whatever."
Yeah. All right. Nick, I guess there are no specials, right?
No, they will
Okay.
be back in
That's
their
fine.
normal form next week.
That's fine. All right.
Sorry to disappoint.
Oh. This is also an interesting, and people need to be aware. 4 men were arrested in the shooting death of a 61-year-old Bakersfield woman who died after police said she confronted suspects who reportedly stole her car, according to news release issued Wednesday. Victoria Ann Marie Hampton tracked her reportedly stolen car with an Apple AirTag on March 19th without telling law enforcement, according to the Bakersfield Police Department. So if you are tracking anything that can be stolen and you know where it's at, you don't know who's on the other side. Excuse me. I mean, it could be a shotgun pointed at you right there when you arrive. No, you tell authorities. And I don't even know that a person can do anything. I mean, if I go somewhere and I know that there's something that was stolen from me, and everything goes okay, and I see it there, say, yeah, here it is. I don't know that I have the authority to just take it. The other person can say, no, get out, or I'm going to call the police. I mean, if it's for real, but no,
it
you
really
do.
depends. It really depends where you live, because if you live in America,
Yeah.
then come on, it's
Yeah.
like they took it, it's mine.
Yeah. It's
It's a sad story. That's all I have to say. But I think the reason we're reading about it is because the AirTags work,
yeah.
and Apple is pushing this.
Well, yeah, it's very possible. But remember, that's why there are law enforcement
Bakersfield.
agencies.
Where's Bakersfield?
Is it
California.
Is it?
California.
Oh,
Because
Bakersfield, California. That's what I would
yeah,
assume.
because where was the town where they gave away AirTags to fight
Uh,
car
New York
theft? Do you remember
City.
that?
that's for the Kias and
Yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what happened? She went to go try to get her car back and they killed her?
Something like that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
All right. The latest Windows 11 Insider Preview build includes improved support for passkeys, a new standard for passwordless authentication, as well as support for Unicode 15 emoji. Changes to Windows location-based time zone setting. I don't know what was wrong over there. And a handful of bug fixes. Microsoft had also rolled back proposed changes to the File Explorer that would have removed several relatively obscure settings from the folder options windows. This is coming from Ars Technica. The only thing I can see that they can remove it from there that's very, very important to have, I think, is to show hidden files, to show system files, things like that.
I think they removed the. They were trying to remove the folder background stuff.
Oh.
Yeah, which is rarely used, but those who use it are probably really relying on it because it helps identify visually stuff that is open. So yeah.
Interesting.
But still can't move the taskbar to the side.
Wait, really? Because I have mine on the side.
On Windows 11?
Yeah.
Your taskbar?
Wait, are you talking about on the left?
The task bar, the one with the start.
Completely on the side of the monitor. Instead of the bottom.
It'll be vertical.
You can't even move it to the top.
In Windows 10, Katie, you could have just dragged the taskbar to the side or to the top.
Yeah.
And have it there. With Windows 11, they did away with it, and a lot of people are complaining about it.
Oh, and get this.
And when we talk to the side, we're talking about a vertical taskbar instead of the horizontal.
It's not there.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll give you one setting that isn't there either. You cannot tell it to ungroup the buttons. Now that I've said it, I know it's going to drive you mad.
Ungroup the buttons.
What group?
Yeah.
What kind of?
If you have 5-word document open,
yeah,
right, it'll show up as a single icon.
Oh, you're right, because I have a bunch of not tabs, but browsers open, and it's all under one.
Yep.
Dang.
Yeah, but when you hover over it, you can open the one you want.
Yeah, you need to hover over it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I agree with Gal. Like, if I wanted that option because that's what I want, then I want to be able to do it.
Right. And to top all of that, look, I know I talked about it because it annoys the hell out of me. But to top all of that, the claim when they took it away, right? Because on Windows 10 it worked and Windows 11 it didn't. And so talking with one of the directors of user experience or something like this, there's like a video, and he says that it just requires too much, it's too complex to develop, which completely bullshit, right?
Yeah, that's BS.
And to top that, there is one, at least I know of one application. I bought it. It cost me $3.50, right? And it allows me to do that with Windows 11, and it does it flawlessly. And it adds all of the missing features that Windows 10 had to the taskbar, plus some others that I don't use. And I bought that piece of software because it is perfect. Like, stable, doesn't. I've used it for months now, and it is so good, right? That this is one person, some Russian guy, who's been doing this, and he managed to do it without any problem, right? Without crippling the system, and lo and behold, it works. Microsoft can't pull it off.
Maybe he needs to be the lead developer of Windows now.
Yeah. Well, no. All they need to do is just do what he did, or buy it from him. I don't care, right? It's like come on, guys, this is stupid. This was part of the system. It's not. People are requiring. Look, the reason I'm complaining, right, is our screens today, the screen real estate is wider than it is taller, right? So the math is very simple. If you are limiting me to the bottom, right, then that means I am.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
was it him or me? Or are
No,
we still
no,
on?
it's gone.
The
Well,
oh, there
there
he
it
is.
is.
Okay. Looks
I
like
can see my
like
cat
my
in the
phone
background.
my phone might be heating up. I'm outside.
In the
It's a warm
sun.
day. I'm not in the sun, luckily, but yeah. So did I get to say my spiel, or was I cut off because it was so boring?
we have wider real estate. There's no excuse why we can't do it.
Yeah. Okay.
We were talking about piracy and such. With tens of millions of regular monthly visitors, South Korean piracy site Nunu TV made powerful enemies. The standoff reached the boiling point in March when broadcasters formed a new anti piracy coalition and warned of punishing legal action. Nunu TV responded by throwing in the towel, but after clone site Nunu TV Season 2 appeared online, the government says it will develop an AI anti piracy system that will stop any Season 3 variants in their tracks.
Season 3.
It just comes to show you that this is like I like how God calls it whack-a-mole. It's the only way that they can do this because they'll always find ways to come back.
Yep.
I mean, we call them pirates, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if, because I doubt pirates back in the 1900s and maybe even before were considered in any way culture heroes at all, right? They were always a menace.
Yeah.
But piracy online is sort of a protest movement as well as just plain crooks, right? It's like it's a mixture, and so I wonder if piracy is the right way of describing them.
Describing.
Yeah, yeah. I
We can
always
call
feel
them
like
privateers.
yeah, probably privateers are probably a better suited description.
That's fancier.
Yeah.
Disseminators of copyrighted material.
Yeah. That just sounds
No,
criminal.
we'll call them liberators. They're liberating the
Liberators,
content.
yeah. Because really, they're not the ones that are hacking to find those things. I'm sure they have other people that do the work to bring something in.
Yeah, those themes we discussed last week. Yeah.
Yeah.
Strange.
All right. The Federal Trade Commission on last Wednesday sued Amazon for illegally inducing consumers to sign up for its Prime service and then hindering them from canceling the subscription. The most aggressive action against the company to date by an agency chair, Lena Khan. The lawsuit, filed in U.S. District Court for the Western District of Washington, argues that Amazon had used design tactics on its website known as dark patterns to nudge people into subscribing to Prime. The FTC said in a release. That's coming from the FTC. And when consumers wanted to cancel, they had to go through a Byzantine process to do so. So now it's not just, hey, slap your hand and, you need to change your ways, and they changing it in the EU and all that. They already changed that. Now they are being sued.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what happens here.
Well, I mean, the lawsuit itself sounds like it's more of a political run there by the attorney suing, but they are using dark patterns. I don't know if they're using so much dark patterns on the subscription side as much as on the cancellation side. I know I wanted to cancel the auto payment because I had gift cards that I purchased a couple of years back, and I want to make sure that I get the notice, and I do it manually, and it doesn't automatically go through. And yes, they definitely are using dark patterns, and I was surprised actually that a company like that, with the reputation they have of, I mean, their business is totally legit. People, they like to complain, but they have a lot of subscribers and people love their service basically when it works, right? And so I was surprised that the dark patterns are there. Thankfully,
well, it's just the writer. The writer wrote it like that,
No. The dark patterns are there. They're definitely there. If you want to go and unsubscribe, then you get a huge button for no, I'm here by mistake, and a very unsuspecting text that doesn't even look like a link was, yes, cancel the subscription or something like that, right? So definitely usage of dark pattern. That's not it's out there in the open. You can't really hide it. Just go and try to unsubscribe and you'll see it. But what I find strange is, okay, you're attacking Amazon. They still allow you pretty much to do the entire process online without speaking to a human being. Try to unsubscribe from Spectrum. Try to unsubscribe from a cell company, right? Chat won't do it.
No.
There's no page where we can click and cancel. You either need to call customer support or you need to step into a store to actually do the cancellation, right? Or sorry, no, you can't even do cancellation in the store. You must call customer support. So it's ridiculous, right? The way there's only one way you can do this. You can register it a million ways, but you can only deregister one way, right? And that's part of the dark patterns. And I find it strange that they're attacking Amazon. That's why I'm guessing it's political, right? It's a way of politically advancing that specific attorney that was mentioned by name in the article, right?
Well, no, she's the head of the FTC.
Right, but she's doing it for political clout. That's what I'm saying.
Well, yeah, possible.
If the FTC is suing, why do I care who is the person that is heading the lawsuit?
Oh.
Right. If this is a government action, right? Why am I getting a person's name in the article? That's why I'm saying that's for political clout. But all good for it, because if they are able to change Amazon's behavior in the States, then maybe other companies will fall in suit as well.
It'll be nice if they could.
Yep.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. According to an industry insider, LCD TVs won't see any further development because all new R&D money is being spent on self-emissive displays like micro LED and OLED, as well as backlit technology like mini LED.
Which is still LCD. What are they talking about?
Well, According to Bob Rakes from Display Daily, it's all about OLED development. That I asked EMD, which is the U.S. name of Merck AGA, and is by far the dominant supplier of LC materials, what they were doing to push LC materials for displays onto the next stage. They are developing LCs for privacy windows and antennas. But they told us that there is no pull from clients for significant development of LC materials. He wrote in a recent article. That shouldn't have been a surprise. I have been talking about the switch to OLED and other emissive displays for the premium end and later the mainstream of the display market for a lot of years. Still, after decades of reporting on LC development, it took a moment to sink in. Now that is, according to him, there's not going to be any LCD TVs. I think we still have one. It's LCD, not
right. But do remember, right? All of the other forms that he talked about, micro LED and all that, those are basically LCDs with different backlights.
Yeah.
Backlight technology.
The backlight is
Yeah.
the problem.
Right. And so there is development, but I think he is correct in that stuff like OLED, where each pixel is its own emitter, and it's not a passive with a backlight. Those are definitely, I mean, we've been talking about those are the future for the past 20 years since they, uh, don't remember if it was Fuji or LG, but they started developing that in 2002 ish, for commercial use. That's when they started the development for commercial use. So these are definitely the way to go. And like we saw the death of CRT, LCD displays as is, they're probably going to be used in their old way in new forms, but not for displays, right? Not for that. For that, we'll see stuff like OLED. I mean, it is superior, and when it becomes cheap enough, then it'll be the victor of this process.
Sure, it's always absolutely. All right. A government panel in Japan drew up a set of regulations aimed at opening up the smartphone app stores of U.S. technology giants Apple and Google to competition. The two companies dominating the smartphone operating system market will be obliged to allow their users to download apps by using services other than their own app stores. The government hopes that the move will spur competition and lead to app price drops. The smartphone OS market is occupied almost entirely by Apple iOS and Google's Android. The companies control how apps are installed and paid for on their iPhones and Android devices. And this is nice because the government in Japan can say, well, if you want to sell apples in Japan, that's what you have to do. You have to allow it. Apple is not going to pass and say, no, sorry, so we're not going to sell here. And that is some leverage. And this can open windows for, I'm wondering if people in this country will be able to download stuff from that app store there, or they're going to stop it and it's going to be only for Japanese users. But it's definitely interesting that they did something.
Well, I mean, we've been waiting for regulations like that for a long time, right? All of the lawsuits that are going on,
right?
We're hoping eventually will lead to something like this in the States, but this is the government taking the lead instead of waiting for a lawsuit.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all for it. I don't think it'll affect markets outside of Japan just yet. But it'll definitely be used as precedents in lawsuits around the world for changes like this to happen.
Well, I missed it. What did Japan not like about Apple?
Well, they're telling them there's a ruling saying they must allow other app stores, basically, on the phones, Apple and Android.
Okay. Oh, okay. Instead of you have an Apple phone, you can download Android apps.
No. So right now, if you have Apple, the only place you can install apps from is the Apple App Store.
Yeah.
Right? The iOS App Store. That is the only source that you're allowed on a legitimately purchased iPhone. If you jailbreak it, maybe you can do other things, but then there's security ramifications. So Japan is telling both Apple and Android, they're saying you must allow third-party stores to be legitimately used.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And that also means that it is circumventing the mandatory link between Apple and Google and the way to pay on those phones. Because right now, paying on those phones through the ecosystem means they take a commission. If you allow a third party tool to do that, then you're supposedly also circumventing that, and you're creating competition between those app stores of, okay, who wants to host your software exclusively on my system, where I'll take less than Google, less than Apple.
Yeah, because I bought a Windows computer, but I can buy stuff. I don't have to go through Microsoft to buy stuff for my computer.
Yeah, but that's to Microsoft detriment, right? They are trying to and force that. That's what Windows S mode is. Everything goes to the store. So if you would have asked Microsoft would have said, yeah, if we would have thought about it when we designed Microsoft, we would have baked it in. But we were there before there was internet. iOS and Android were OSs created for the internet. What made an iPhone so unique was the access to the App Store that was already available for the iPad, right? The iPod, sorry. So iPod Touch. And so that's a system that was designed this way versus a system that can allow what is today called side loading by design, right? Is different. But now they're saying, okay, it's not only that you cannot use, you should allow. It's not about side loading. It's you should allow a complete other ecosystem. So Samsung, for example, they have an app store for Android apps that they push with their Android devices. You still must have the Google Android App Store, but they are trying. I don't think anybody actually does it, but they are trying to push at least their apps through their app store, and so you need to register for both. There's no equivalent to that with iPhone. So the ruling says, hey, iPhone, Apple, Google with Androids, you must allow third-party tools. And I'm guessing today when I install something from a third party on Android, I can download a file and install it. It gives me like tons of warning. This is coming from an unknown source, etc., etc. And that's all fine. But if you provide me with another ecosystem to buy apps, that should be a trusted source. And then that should allow seamless installation, and that doesn't exist today in either systems. It always, if there is something, it's clunky.
No, they have to lose their monopoly. They,
Yep.
no. All right. In early June, what is that? The 1st through the 15th? The 1st through the 2nd?
The first week of June.
Sporadic but serious service disruptions plagued Microsoft flagship Office suite, including the Outlook email and OneDrive file sharing apps and cloud computing platform. A shadowy hacktivist group claimed responsibility, saying it flooded the sites with junk traffic and distributed denial of service attacks. To name the cause, Microsoft has now enclosed that DDoS attacks by the murky upstart were indeed to blame. But the software giant has offered few details and did not immediately comment on how many customers were affected and whether the impact was global. A spokeswoman confirmed that the group that calls itself Anonymous Sudan was behind the attacks. It claimed responsibility on its Telegram social media channel at the time. Some security researchers believe the group to be Russian. Microsoft explanation in a blog post Friday evening followed a request by the Associated Press 2 days earlier. Slim on details, the post said the attacks temporarily impacted availability of some services. It said the attacks were focused on disruption and publicity and likely used rented cloud infrastructure and virtual private networks to bombard Microsoft servers from so-called botnets of zombies computers around the globe. Microsoft does not have a way to fight DDoS. Who was it? I mean, there were a few stories that Cloudflare has service that they provide to everybody that hosts with them. That is, it combats.
I don't think. Look. I don't care who you are, right? I don't think you can protect yourself against DDoS, and I'll explain. You can block traffic, but you cannot unsaturate used bandwidth, right? So it doesn't matter if you can block a million requests and only allow one good request to pass,
right?
But still, that one good request will need to follow those million requests, and it'll need to wait for its turn. So DDoS it's just a lot more expensive to execute properly. It's a lot more complex. I think the only thing that might be beautiful in design wise, not I do not condone any of this, but like if there was something beautiful about the message that this group did, was if they used, let's say, the free offerings of Azure's, right, to execute the DDoS. That would have been beautiful, right? Because that means here you're offering free trials, right, to enthusiasts to try your system, and a group here figured out a way of utilizing your own system against you.
Yeah.
That's all. But it doesn't even sound that way, because the speculations are of rented cloud computing, right? Which I doubt, by the way, is the case, because when you do rented cloud computing, there's billing to trace and money that has been charged. So not an easy feat to accomplish completely anonymous. So
yeah, but if they're using a platform like Azure, what do they need all the other machines for? The whole idea here is to
no,
use.
so that's the question. Did they
Yeah.
do it from within Azure or from without? That's one.
No, they
And if they
say
did it from,
the article said that they
well,
bombarded
this
it
is
from
speculation.
so-called botnets of zombie computers around the globe. And that's what they do.
Right.
They compromise a machine, they put stuff in there, they have
Right.
use of it. So that's how they do it. And this way they can't be even traced.
There's always a trace. It's not in every spot, but yeah, it's a lot harder. It's almost the resources to trace that are actually impossible. They're
Yeah.
really they require a lot of resources for that. So yeah, compromised machines, nothing to do there. But
Yeah.
yeah, I
It's
mean,
just interesting that Microsoft
yeah,
buckled kind of. I mean, who knows what's the size of that thing was. So yeah. All right. Police forces in the UK are seeing a record number of false calls to 999, their version of uh what's our
911.
911. The UK emergency service number. And the culprit is apparently Android. As the BBC reports, Android 12 added an easy access feature for emergency service. Just press the power button 5 times and your phone will dial emergency service for you. 5 clicks is
So
an
people
easy.
are bot dialing 911 in the UK, basically.
That's
I think
apparently.
there was. Hold on. I think there was like what 5 years ago, 4 years ago, exactly the same about US based iPhone users because of the watch, which had emergency, like when you get a shock, it
Oh
will
yeah,
automatically
if
call.
you crash
Yeah,
or something. Yeah, if you
yeah,
fall. Yeah,
yeah,
that's right.
yeah.
But this is that's apparently pretty easy to do accidentally. Accidentally, when a phone is sitting in your pocket, or if you have a wonky power button, resulting in a surge of totally silent accidental calls to emergency dispatch.
Let me guess. The article is sponsored by Apple.
So
There's
Gali's
probably a way to disable it. So yeah,
maybe.
yeah. Sounds stupid to activate it by default. I would agree. If the OS is shipped that way, that is completely stupid.
Meta plans to end access to news on Facebook and Instagram for all users in Canada once a parliament approved legislation requiring internet giants to pay news publishers come into effect. And I think there was another article that it started on the 21st.
You know what will happen here? I've been thinking about this, and this is one of the worst legislation ever, because what will happen is that uh, news outlets will choose to a legitimate news outlet. They want their money, right? That's what they're saying. It's expensive, and we want our money, and you're reusing our content, and we're not getting anything out of it, which I get, right? But the legislation will create news agency that say, hey, you don't need to pay us, just list us, and fake news will rise again, right? Because they will care nothing about vetting the content, and so we're not going to get better news out of it. We're just not going to get good news at all, right? the most disseminated news is going to be that of free sources, which will be automatically indexed because they can, and the paid content, they'll just lose their viewership completely. That's my take on it. That's my guess on it.
Yeah. That's.
I understand the motive. I don't think it'll work. That's what I'm saying.
We just have to wait and see. Internet service providers in both the US and Europe are clamoring for new payments from big tech firms. European broadband providers are much closer to realizing the long held goal of payments from tech companies, as the European Union government is holding an official consultation on the proposal. As the EU process unfolds, the telco lobby group US Telecom is hoping to push the US down a similar but not quite identical path. In a blog post on Friday, US Telecom CEO Jonathan Spolter argued that the biggest technology companies should contribute toward a fund that subsidized the building of broadband networks. I can see that because who's creating the most traffic these days? The YouTubes and the Facebooks and all these platforms that people are constantly on. And with video, you need the speed. Or not you want the speed. So, and they have more user like the Netflixes and anything that uses a lot.
I'd say you need the speed, not you want the speed, because nothing is more frustrating than when you're watching a video and it buffers. Like I don't know, I can't remember what happened. I was somewhere where the internet was really bad and I tried to watch something because they didn't have cable, they had Netflix, and we couldn't watch anything. Like it was unwatchable. Awful.
Because of the speed.
Yeah, well, because I would have it would play for 30 seconds straight, hit whatever it had downloaded or whatever, and then it would buffer another 30 seconds, buffer another. It was hashtag first world problems, but it was the most agonizing thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand the explanation, but what they're saying is we're not getting enough for the infrastructure, right? We miscalculated basically, and we provided infrastructure that can do 10 times of work, but we're getting for, I don't know, for like only one piece of work. And we're not okay with charging more from our customers who are using that infrastructure. We want to tax sort of the companies that our users are reaching out to, right? So instead of getting payment from me that I'm using the infrastructure, the company who's serving me content, they're going to be charged. Now, on paper, it sounds like, hey, they don't want to touch me. But effectively, they're just going to tax, they're going to raise prices of all of these services, right? That's what I'm hearing. Instead of me getting a larger bill of my infrastructure and everybody contributing depending on what they're using, we're just going to be hit by more expensive services that nobody can afford.
Yeah, but think about it this way too, God. Think about it the other way. If they don't pass, they raise their own prices to us.
Yeah, raise the prices.
Yeah.
And get the government to pay for it or something, right? But they are rolling it to us eventually in pretense that they are taking it from the big companies. I mean, the big companies, they don't care about us. They're just going to charge more.
Right. Absolutely.
Right? So I say, why go in a roundabout way? Deal with it head on, right? Deal with it as it should. The government wants this as infrastructure. Fantastic. Make it infrastructure and figure out a way of paying for it, right? Don't go and grab money from me eventually. That's what I'm saying. It's like they're going about the wrong way of taxing it, basically.
Yeah, it's really just
That's
tax.
yeah, yeah, that's my feeling anyway. I mean, I might be reading this incorrectly because I don't really care about the Netflixes and the Disneys and you know the Spectrums, and I don't care about them making more money. But I am just thinking about me as a consumer, right? How this is going to affect me. And from what I'm hearing is the government says we want this. The reason we're going to allow these type of payments is because we want this infrastructure available everywhere, right? So they're looking for a way of paying for the infrastructure, and they seem to have this brilliant idea of we can tax the corporation, but they're also missing the point that this tax is going to be directly related to the consumers using those services. So why tax us in a roundabout way instead of tax us directly? Like, what's the benefit?
Yeah.
Why it's like they're trying to hide something that won't be hidden for long, and I don't get it.
It's funny because when the conversation's the other way around, when it's, you know, the government not when companies are paying less taxes and people say it helps the consumer because it generally does, people argue that point, which is
Yeah, but
not arguable. It's your
no,
point is
I
absolutely
get what
correct,
you're
and so
saying.
is the other.
I get what you're saying, but this is different than taxing corporation in general about their general profit, right? Because this is specific about technology use that is
Mhm.
already paid for.
True.
We're already paying for that, right? I say, I say, the government needs to say this is a utility, right? Like part of net. I know net neutrality is flawed, but part of it, right? Is talking about that this is a utility. Then this needs to be available everywhere to everyone in the same way, just like a phone line or a gas line or electricity, right? And but the way to deal with it, it's like we don't know how to deal with it, so we're going to say we're going to tax the corporation. And they're not going to get any effective. Like everybody's going to be hurt. No, nothing is going to be achieved. Right? That's what I hear from this. When you talk about taxing corporations more, you are talking about right making part of the profit margin also the government profit margin because the government eventually needs to get that money paid to deal with the infrastructure that nobody else wants to. And so if we are dealing with technology as infrastructure that nobody wants to deal with, right? Then let's do the taxing properly and not in a roundabout way. That's what I'm saying.
No, can't do that with government.
Yeah, that's the problem.
No. All right. Who's using ASUS routers?
Oh, routers. I was gonna say I have a ASUS Chromebook, or at least I used to.
ASUS has released new firmware for several routers models to address security vulnerabilities, including critical ones, which can lead to denial of service attacks and code execution. The company advises companies to update their devices immediately or restricts WAN access, in other words, turn it off, until the devices are secured, urging them to create strong passwords and follow security measures. Now, listen to this. The first is a critical memory corruption weakness in the ASUS WRT firmware for ASUS routers that could let attackers trigger denial of service states or gain code execution. The other critical patch is for an almost 5-year-old CVE 2018-1160 bug caused by an out-of-bounds write net talk weakness that can also be exploited to gain arbitrary code execution on unpatched devices. And I remember, I think we talked about that. So you need to update it if you're using, and they're saying that the impacted devices includes the following. There's a GT6, there's a GT AXE 16000, there's a GT AX 11000 Pro, there's a GT AX 6000, GT AX 11000, GX AX 5400, GS AX 3000, XT9, XT8, XT8 version 2, and now the RTAX 86U Pro, which is popular, RTAX 86U, RTAX 86S, RTAX 82U, RTAX 58U, RTAX 3000, TUF AX 6000, and TUF AX 5400. I just wanted to put it out there so I know, I mean, ASUS are very popular home routers, and if you have one of those, I mean, you need to update it anyway you look at it, but these are the ones that are included in the list of impacted.
Well, Amnon, with such a long list of impacted routers, could you list the ones that are not?
Yeah, that would be easier, wouldn't it? I guess.
Exactly. You were running an open WRT version of the firmware on your home router,
Right.
ASUS, right?
Yeah.
So I wonder if that already has all of these CVE patches patched regardless.
I don't know, but
that
when Ron asked me to if I want to change, he changed back to the ASUS
right.
WRT. And he says, but if you don't want to switch back, then there's an update.
Yeah.
That I need to install or you need to install on the router.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So sounds like the WRT branch copy version of the firmware will also have these fixes. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
A note about routers, because this is something didn't really bother me until last week. So as you all know, I'm here in Canada visiting family, and over here, one of the problems they had with internet was some sort of instability issues, and it wasn't caused by any piece of hardware specifically. Maybe a faulty cable, which is very long across a basement and a first floor, where the router would be remote to the actual cable modem that brings in internet to the home. And so I told him that we can separate the router from the access point, from the and have his Wi-Fi mesh system not act as a router at all. It'll only do Wi-Fi, and it does Wi-Fi pretty well. I mean, Wi-Fi is accessible across all the home, which is very large, a mesh of 3 points, and it works. And all we need to do is just separate the router. And so I went out looking for a not too expensive machine that will stand alone, sit next to the switch in the basement, where traffic comes in to the modem there. And I found around $200 a mini computer running an N something line. It's not an Intel
Chip.
core. I think, if I understood correctly, it is it's an 86. I wasn't sure. I'm not sure if it's even 86 architecture or ARM. ARM architecture, remember, has much lower power consumption. That's why a lot of phones are using it. So anyway, $200, a rather strong CPU, quad core, with 8 gigabytes of RAM and enough storage there. I think either 256 or 512, doesn't really matter because we're not really going to utilize that storage. Not too expensive. Yes, more expensive than a router at home, but if you're looking for like top-notch, top performance router, right, that can handle traffic analyzing and protection and DNS
Lookups.
categorization, and a better DNS in general, which is also important inside a household with many machines, especially if you're self-hosting or something. So something like that for $200, and then you install a pfSense, which is an industry.
You install what?
pfSense.
Okay.
It's
all right. Keep going.
A very well-known open source stack that is sold by I don't remember the name right now, and you can get it for free. So there's a free version that you can use for even for businesses, and it puts to shame any of those routers that we buy for less than $100.
So pfSense is a router firmware.
It is router firewall.
Yeah, but you're turning
software OS. It's an OS distribution, basically.
So you turned that machine that you bought into a router.
Right.
Okay.
Now, the only thing that machine needs, right? It needs 2 Ethernet ports. That's it, right? So that's what's unique about such a small form machine.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you wouldn't probably find it cheaper. But $200, what you get for the $200 is going to last such a long time.
And the results?
The results are phenomenal, right? The internal network got a boost of about 30% in performance just by not going through the Netgear router. And the Netgear hardware is still providing all of the Wi-Fi, which is excellent, right? So no complaints there. So understand that there's always another option. And even in a household where you don't want to pay a lot for your hardware, you can still get away with good performance, with good results, and with not too much hassle. The installation was rather smooth. Yes, I installed the software back at home before I came over, but when I came in, I just plugged it in and everything worked, just like with a regular router pre-installed from factory. And you get the same benefits of other factory created routers, like automatic updates and all that. It's all baked in. So,
and it has a GUI that shows just like a router, so you can see if you don't, if the internet says that you have an alarm or something, so Okay.
The GUI is rather busy because there's a ton of options, but you can focus on what's important very easily. You can troubleshoot things very easily. It has a lot of tools.
So there you go. I mean, and can you install that on any computer?
Yes,
dedicated.
You can.
Dedicated.
A lot of people run it as a VM on an edge computer where they run other services as well, like a web server or something, right? So it can definitely act as part of a system and not just solely take over the system.
So it has its own OS. So you don't, if you have an old
Yeah,
machine that's like a Core i7 or Core i5 that's old,
oh yes,
you can install it and
yes.
yeah.
Yes. So it won't be the most power efficient machine because it's an i7, but yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You'll need 2 Ethernet ports.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but
that's not standard. But yeah, you can definitely put in a card and get that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. Well, it's that time of day again, guys. Anything else anybody wants to add here?
Oh, it's been raining nonstop the past week.
Yeah, I know.
I'm gonna try to go swimming this afternoon. That'd be nice.
Yeah, we needed the rain, but I mean, come on.
I literally, it was like every day, and I had all these plans, and I was I'm gonna do this and that, and then it rained. I was like, okay, well.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, guys.
Maybe we should take a nap first.
Katie, Nick, and good morning, Kathy, Hannah, Nabil, Mac, Norm, Katie, and Donna. Dina, Mati, Eleanor, Sarid, Yaakov, and Yael. Thank everybody for tuning to Computers 2K Now. We hope you enjoyed and maybe learned something from our time together. Remember to practice safe computing. Back up your hard drive and update your virus scanner. Also, change any same passwords where you use them. We'll be back here next Sunday at 9, but you can always reach us at computers2know.com. And again, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m., Nick is on Wilmington 980 The Wave and 107.9 FM with his morning news and commentary show. You can tell your Echo device to play 980 The Wave. And after the fact, you can go to the recordings at nickcraig.com. Tuesdays, 7 p.m., Nick and Brian do the Infection Podcast on Twitch. That's for survival games, gaming news, and political commentary. So Tuesday, 7 p.m., twitch.tv/Infection Podcast. Enjoy your week, and we'll be together again next week.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.